I am so excited to be able to interview one of my most favorite people on the whole wide world, who I respect and love, and who is such a brilliant mind, clinician, artist, writer, fill in the blank, amazing word that you could possibly describe, Dr. Carmen Martinez, and also a tattoo aficionado. And I'm excited to talk to her today about all of those things. But I just wanted to say welcome, Carmen, and I'm really happy to have conversation with you. Do you want to kind of introduce yourself and talk a little bit about where you are, your clinical practice, orient us a little bit into the world of if I was a client of Dr. Carmen Martinez?
Well, I'm really grateful to be here. Thank you for having me. And, I feel really honored to be here and to work with you. And
Yeah.
you might hear my cats zooming around because Dr. Ziggy's in the house,
In the house.
which is actually a sweet thing that a lot of my clients
Mm,
know because my office is out of my home. And so Dr. Ziggy will sit in sessions, which is
I
lovely.
love that.
Um, I do a lot of trauma work, like I would say pretty big T trauma, heavier traumas, and having a space that's calm and warm and with
Hmm.
the cats has
Totally.
been like this really secret sauce part of therapy that I never even thought I would have,
Hmm.
access to. I think about couples therapy with Orna and her little dog.
Yeah.
Like, aw, that's great. But I have a dog cat, so he's trying to get me to play fetch right now.
A dog cat. That's cute.
He's like, hey, she's doing something. Let's distract. But yeah, I love being a therapist. I think that life groomed me towards that point.
Hmm.
Oh, I remember having like open door policies when I was a general manager at a brewing company or at another top 500 restaurant that I worked in. I did a lot of service industry for like about 20 years. And people would always come to me and just tell me things, you know. And I think a lot of therapy is about the stories people tell
Hmm.
and helping them to change them, re-narrate them, and then create new stories and new storylines, you know. And that takes a lot of work, and that work happens in the relationship and what happens between you and me in this space. And of course, so much of our work now is on video, which makes it kind of challenging. I mean, I'm so grateful I get to like hang out and see your face, even though you're, literally across the country. But yeah, seeing people in person and then creating this space online to be able to hold a container for it. It's still a container. It's still the shape of how we move through the world, I think relationally is really important.
Hmm.
And of course, tattoos have a lot to do with that. Um, oh, I was just thinking about one of my couples clients that I worked with that you referred me to
Hmm.
a few years back. Pretty high profile client. I will say I've never really wanted to Google someone until I worked with this person. I was like, all right, that's not ethical. I'm not gonna do that. I don't look up my clients. I know my clients look me up. That's fine, but
Hmm.
that's not, I've got to work with what comes to me. But
Yeah.
I know having done an intervention with the couple at one point, and I also I oh, that's so funny. I don't remember what color my hair was, but it wasn't just brown.
Uh-huh.
It might have been purple, it might have been teal,
Cute.
could have been pink.
Hmm.
And I just looked at him and I said, just because my hair is pink and I have a lot of tattoos doesn't mean I don't understand what's going on in the story that you're telling yourself, which is completely false. And then I pulled apart the narrative.
Mm.
And he stopped and he looked at me and he was kind of in shock. And then he said, kind of soft, not under his breath, but just softer. He's like, actually, I trust you more because of your tattoos.
Mm.
I was like, oh, I like that.
Oof.
And I think that there is some sort of information that is being kind of passed back and forth. And I
Yeah.
have clients who ask me about my tattoos, not all. And I
Hmm.
have clients who show me their tattoos and tell me
Hmm.
the stories about their tattoos. And so it
Hmm.
becomes like this sort of richness to
Hmm.
explore.
Yeah.
Um, What else about my practice? I see couples and individuals. Um, I would say the couples that come to me are pretty high conflict.
Hmm.
Um, and I sense a lot of that just does deal with the fact that the work that I do is heavier work. It's a
Hmm.
heavier lift, right? It's more of again the big T trauma.
Yeah.
Do you remember Doris from
Uh-huh.
CIIS?
Yeah.
And she would joke sometimes that some people are sort of in the Finding Nemo
Mm.
space where they're like soul searching, or
Yeah.
they're looking to explore creativity, or they want, and then she just looked at me, she's like, those are not your clients. I'm like, she's like, if you're gonna work with clients who carry a lot of trauma, I'm like,
Oh, she
okay,
called that. She called that. Hmm.
yeah, yeah. And I'm grateful for that because when someone sits down in front of me and tells me what's happening for them, I'm not shocked, I'm not surprised, and I'm able to sit with it. And for whatever reasons, probably from working through my own things,
Hmm.
I can do that. So
Yes.
it's a profound, profound thing to have, you
You
know?
have a huge capacity to be able to do that. And more, I hear people say, I want someone who can hold the level of trauma. And also, I hear people say, I want somebody who has had some lived experience of trauma as my therapist. It's kind of one of those like identity markers almost like,
Absolutely.
hey, we're tattooed. I'm tattooed, you're tattooed. And you've been through some shit. I've
Yes.
been through some shit.
Hmm.
You're for me, right? My clients like, are you queer identified or in the queer and trans community? Like that's an important piece. And like I feel like particularly with trauma, people want to know that you can hold them, that you won't drop them, or that things won't get leaky, or if they do get leaky, that they can be patched up in a way or repaired in a way that still holds a container that is strong relationally. And
Absolutely.
you do that extremely well. And that's a huge skill, set of skills, not a skill, set of skills to have. And
Yeah.
it's not just about the skills and the techniques, it's about your presence and your energy and what you cultivate and bring into the relationship and how that gets exchanged.
Hmm. I appreciate that, hearing that from
Sure.
you. And I think about clients who trust, there's a trust building piece, and sometimes there's something like I have this woman I work with, and she has DID,
Mm-hmm.
dissociative identity disorder,
Mm-hmm.
and she was diagnosed with it very young, 17. She's been, dealing with it most of her life, and it only comes forward when she's extremely stressed, which is a part of this.
Mm-hmm.
And she was in that place, and we were having a conversation, and I know why she chose to work with me is, because her former therapist had retired. And when I say chose to work with me, I mean she was looking for another therapist to continue the work.
Mm-hmm.
But I asked her, I said, well, why did you want to work with me? And she's like, well, your name, Carmen Martinez, so you're Latina, you're brown, you have tattoos. She's like, I felt like I could trust you,
Mm.
you know? And I think about people who, when they have big trauma, that so much of why trauma sticks with us is because there isn't a container to hold it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's porous boundaries maybe in a family system in which there's enmeshment or there's enabling or the child is caretaking the parent.
Mm-hmm.
And so when a client comes to me, I think they want to know that they're not going to have to caretake me,
Yes.
right? Because that does happen. I see that
Oh
happen.
God, absolutely.
Occasionally,
Yeah.
I do have clients who might make some inquiry into what's going on with me. And I think and this is where my psychodynamic brain goes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they have this story they're telling me, you know, like I'm not for full transparency. I'm like, I'm not married, but I like rings, and every once in a while I wear rings. And for one day, I just wore this one ring, and I had a client who was like bug-eyed looking at this ring, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. It's on my ring finger, and this client is like paying so much attention to
Uh-huh.
it.
Uh-huh.
Clients can like they might project something on me. Right?
Totally.
And so this client that in our first, meeting over video when we did the consultation was like, well, I can trust her. She's brown, she has a Spanish name, and she has tattoos. She's trustworthy. I'm like, okay,
The
there we go.
triumvirate.
So that is huge. And yeah, that I can sit with the fact that I don't need to be caretaken by my client. There's reciprocity and there's spaciousness for them to just be themselves and to have a new experience.
And I think that can be the hardest thing, especially for someone like me, like a parentified child, used to taking care of everyone, used to putting everyone before myself. In some ways, qualities that I've then shifted and molded into becoming a therapist and like
Mhm.
putting it into a certain way of being. But I think it can be a very strange experience to go into a therapeutic relationship and just have it be about me, right? As the client, just have it be that space. It can be really like uncomfortable and overwhelming. And I think you are from what I know of how you work, is that you bring yourself into it in all the ways you just said. Hey, I'm this, I'm this, and this. And also, you keep bringing it back to, and this is your space.
Mhm.
This is about you. This is about what you need. And I am here to create a relational corrective experience and to do some very, more specific in whatever ways are needed trauma work or whatever, fill in the blank work, anxiety help, or whatever the thing is that they're bringing in.
Yeah.
What are
Yeah.
some of your favorite kinds of clients to work with? Like, who do you get excited by? It can just be like general things they bring in, or like who
Mhm.
they like, kinds of people that they are, energies.
This sounds cliche or almost stereotypical. I love creatives,
Mm, yeah,
um,
same.
and stuck creatives because there's
Mm,
some key piece of trauma that is keeping them stuck, or they're in a relationship in which they continue to play out the trauma and they don't understand why they can't get unstuck. Um, and this sort of came about because one of my first clients was an artist who was struggling with his music and was trying to put out an album. And a few years after we ended our therapy, I got his album. He'd finished it. And he's like, "You gotta,"
wow.
and he sent it to me, and I was just like, and I've had that happen before. Worked with a musician who sometimes when I think about like the this person was, and I think I even mentioned to him once, I was just like, it's kind of a good thing that you actually didn't make it big because he was in a space where there was a lot of active drug and alcohol abuse, and there
Mm,
wasn't we were working together that long past, but I sensed, I was like, if you had gotten all of that, you'd probably be dead, you
mhm,
know.
mhm,
Um,
mhm.
but had also like fallen into a relationship that was replicating childhood trauma. And so like working with people with that kind of key piece of bigger childhood trauma, um, whether it's physical violence, sexual abuse, neglect,
Mhm,
and you know, as being like a survivor myself, or someone who has moved through these kinds of traumas from my own family of origin, like holding that space, it's very much a like to like kind of experience. And I feel
mm.
like in the moment, I'm actually modeling recovery and change and
Oh,
growth
yeah.
and the possibility of becoming something other than that trauma. Like, because
Mhm.
that it's sticky,
Yes.
and people start to believe they're thinking, and the thinking, just like, when I'm walking, my feet are moving, but I'm not thinking about my feet. I'm like 1 foot, I'm like not feeling my toes, and I'm like, oh, I'm walking, right? But we get into our thoughts and we think we're our thoughts. When I'm walking, I'm not my feet. I'm this whole integrated thing. I'm a person, right? But I have so many clients that have these thoughts for like, oh, I'm bad, or I'm not good, or I deserved this, or I'm unlovable, or
Mhm.
and just being like, no. Our thoughts are like just neural pathways that we can
Uh,
reroute.
that's
And
right.
so having, a lot of experience now working with people who get stuck with their creative process or who are exploring more of it, it's just that's profound because I think
It
that a
is.
lot of times creativity comes from a traumatic experience, and it's a kind of navigation through it,
Mm, mm,
post-traumatic growth.
Post-traumatic growth.
Oh,
Absolutely.
don't know if you heard the Ziggy has joined us.
Ziggy. Hi,
Hi,
Ziggy.
buddy.
Hi,
He's
babes.
like, why isn't she paying attention to me? This is what happens when you adopt a cat during COVID.
Hmm.
You get very
Hmm.
attached.
I really love what you're saying. I also really love working with artists and creative folks and yeah, writers and painters and just like also kind of like just like weirdos like me, just like nerdy weirdos who think, like in spiritual ways, who are like witches. Like I love getting into those fun places that can sometimes right look out like they're outside of the psychotherapy box and they're appropriate and they're not like but they're not what you necessarily would learn in a therapy school. And I feel like you and I went to the same, we went to CIS and there's space and place to play in that. And I think that a lot of our training, even though you and I are both also psychodynamically
Mhm.
oriented in our thinking,
Yes.
um, analytically oriented in our thinking, but not in our like exact practice. But
Mhm.
you and I share, I think that getting into that transpersonal, spiritual,
Mhm.
energetic exchange, the like you just said, even that is such a beautiful way of thinking about it, place. And I think that, you know, humans need that.
Yes.
We need it, and we need it right now.
Yes. Yeah.
We need it right now. We need to find artistic connection and joy as places of resistance.
Mhm.
Joy is resistance. Radical love and acceptance is resistance. Like all of these places and opportunities. And I feel like
Yes.
your clinical work, both with individuals and couples, offers an opportunity for that.
Yeah. It is profound, the need for creativity and also just giving people permission. Like there's such and it might be because I feel like I'm very much in the heart of like uh the Technopolis between when we got Salesforce over here and OpenAI over there and I'm like, hi, hi technology. Like it's a lot to be looking at and how there's a kind of blandification, kind of like everything is the same. And I'm like, oh, it's heartbreaking because there's such a need for creative joys and passions and expression. And it really is just such a powerful restorative experience. And so much of it is just about telling stories, whether it's in an artistic way of what's happening, but that it can be one of the ways to move through trauma, right? And sometimes it's through expression through song or music or dance or painting, poetry, or just how you decorate your house. Um, Also, what I was just thinking about is that holding um holding like playfulness
Mm,
too. Like we get to play
mm,
and people get so swept into like constant media and constant like reinforcing and I am old enough that I didn't grow up with the internet and I'm so grateful for that.
yeah,
And I appreciate the internet. I mean, we're doing what we're doing because we're online, but
sure.
oh God, being able to express without fear of like messiness or having to look perfect or just exploration,
Mm,
or just play for play.
mm.
It's really important.
Yeah, it's really important.
Um, and I I have a mentee, which has been really exciting. I've never had a mentee before.
Oh, cool.
Um, And she's family, so I won't like disclose too much, but
Hmm.
she's in high school and 18 and about
Hmm.
to graduate.
Hmm.
And right before the beginning of her semester, approached me. to be her mentor, and her school has this program in which you seek out a professional
Oh
in
my
the
gosh,
field
that's
that you
so
want to work in.
fun. Oh, I love that.
And we had a weekend together last weekend. She came down, and I had gone up to see her where she lives, and you know, spent the day with her and kind of talked her through my practice and what have you. And she had said something to me. Uh, she wants to be an arts therapist. And I'm like, oh, this is so cool. And I had talked about this sort of, it's like, this is not mine. I'll just be very clear. This is not, this isn't something I created, but it's a list of things that you didn't get to do as a child
Mm.
that you want to do.
Whoa.
Right? Like if you grow up in a dysfunctional family system or you grow up with neglect or poverty or
Yes.
scarcity, right?
Yes.
You don't get to do a lot of the things, the
Mm-mm.
normative acts of play.
That's right.
Now, I like kind of joke. Sorry, mom, if you're out there. Um, I was so jealous of my sister getting toys, and I was the caretaker in the family system.
Mm-hmm.
And I got things like mixing bowls or egg beaters or a
Uh-huh.
filing cabinet or a blanket. You know,
Uh-huh.
and my sister would get China dolls and stuffed animals, and she had her whole room was just stuffed full of them. Like she got to be the child, and I was the radically independent, self-sufficient,
Mm.
hyper caretaker in the family
Totally.
system,
Yep.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm working with this mentee, and I also know she's 18 years old and she doesn't live in the city. And so, of course, what do you want to do when you're 18? You want to go to the Haight. You know, so
Right.
I took her to the Haight. She's like, so like thrifting and finding all the clothes. And she can't find where she lives. And we're
Oh
just
yeah,
having
it's
a great
too fun. It's
time.
too fun.
It was so cute. And
Mm-hmm.
then I said, well, we're going to go to one store that I want to go to. And it's a toy store on Haight Street.
Cool.
So I have a thing for bunnies, which I think you know.
Yes. Love your bunny
Yeah.
decor.
Yes. So, I go into the shop and I show her all these little toys because it's like they're more than just toys. They're like little collector's items and what
Mm-hmm.
have you. And some of the original ones that a lot of people were kind of head over heels with were the Sunny Angels. And I
Mm.
was telling her, and we're standing there. I'm like, oh my God, they came out with a new line. I'm like, I get all excited.
Oh
I'm
my God,
like,
that's so cute.
and I'm like, you never know which one it's gonna be,
Oh, like could you like open them? It's like a surprise every time or something.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. So I seen the original one and I really wanted it and I never got it. And so
Oh,
I have they're cute. I have a bunch of the other ones, but I wanted the bunny.
you wanted the OG.
I wanted the OG bunny.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they have this new line and it's really cute and they're like little strawberries and I was like, "Oh, they have a bunny because some of the runs don't have the bunny."
Mm.
And I told her I said, I'm gonna pick, and I'm like, "Here we go. Go out to lunch, hanging out." I said, okay, I can't do it. I can't wait until I get home. I said, I'm going to open my box. And I get so excited, right? So the little girl in me is like, I get to play. I get to play. I've been a mentor all day long.
Yeah.
I've been wearing my big girl pants and it's my day off, but I'm telling her all the psychological things to do and how to study and what to do with your paperwork now. And like,
Mm-hmm.
she's got like all these questions she's been asking me all day long. And we're in this Thai restaurant. I'm like, ooh. And I opened it up and immediately I was like, oh, what? I got the bunny on the first pick.
You did.
Yeah.
Yay.
And so you can't, I don't know that you
Oh
can see
yeah, I was
it.
gonna say, where's she at?
She's up on the little shelf up there, second shelf.
Mm.
And she's next to the picture of me as a little girl in
Oh.
a stroller. And
Mm.
so I put her up there. And what's really great about it is her little t-shirt says love. She's got a little yellow t-shirt that says love, and she's got little
Cute.
yellow ears and little pink because I always wanted, those little stuffed animals.
Yeah.
So I hold that space,
Mm-hmm.
the permission to play, the permission to explore. And sometimes, that's going to be like finger painting,
Mm-hmm.
blowing
Yeah.
bubbles. I've told clients to go buy a cheap thing of bubbles at a,
Hell yeah.
you know, pharmacy or a Target or a Walgreens. Just go buy some bubbles, go buy some stickers.
Absolutely.
I have this client who I adore, severe childhood trauma, still engages a lot with the family of origin,
Mm,
but in ways that I think now are a lot more boundary, and we
mm,
do a lot of boundary work. And she talks a lot about this little girl she's taking care of inside for
mm,
her.
mm,
And when I was in fifth grade, sticker books were all the rage.
mhm,
We didn't have money for sticker books. We didn't really have money for food. We were on
mhm,
government assistance, food stamps, and government cheese,
mhm,
powdered potatoes and dehydrated milk. And
mhm.
I once I once said something jokingly to a friend about, government cheese, the cheese that used to come in the box.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, it makes really good grilled cheese. And he's like, oh, with tomato soup? I was like, we didn't have tomato soup. I was like, we were lucky if we had ketchup. He's like, what do you mean? I said, well, we didn't really have a lot of condiments. He's like, you were so poor, you didn't have condiments?
Yeah. Condiments are a luxury, dude. Come
Yes.
on. They are. They
You
like
know,
totally are. Unless you like steal the little packets of stuff. Like,
right?
but they totally are.
They were a
Yeah.
luxury,
Yeah.
especially if it was name brand. Like,
Hmm.
oh, we had Heinz ketchup once. I was like, this is like my mom would make a joke once in a while about getting the gray poupon, and she like I was like the little white gloves commercial that the
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah.
butler would, and I'm like, oh, these are funny things. So I share with this client about like a little bit, not a lot, just enough, because I don't want to make the session about me. It's too
Hmm.
easy to talk about myself,
Hmm.
obviously.
Yeah.
And I just share a little bit, and I said, well, we didn't have sticker books. I wanted a sticker book, and she was like, oh my God. I totally forgot about sticker books. I love sticker books. They're the best. Oh,
It's like something cracked open for her. Like it
Yeah.
opened up. Yeah.
So now when she goes home, she brings a sticker book
Mm,
and she collects stickers, and she will take care of her little girl by, promising at the end of the night, we're gonna watch watch a video you want to watch.
hmm.
We're gonna read a story that you want to read,
Hmm.
fiction, because she's an academic and teaches in high level academics. And then she gets to play with her stick book. And so when she went home for Christmas, oh. And this is where I was like, yes, therapy works, which is so funny that this would be something, but it really resonated with me. She bought herself an advent calendar. And every day she got to open up the little thing and she got to take the little treats.
And it's, yeah.
And she had this moment where she had her little treat from her advent calendar and
Hmm.
she did her sticker book. And like, what a gift to be able to do that with someone.
It's such a gift. It's such a gift. And you're opening up the inner children, the inner family system, right?
Hmm.
Like the little ones who need extra TLC and support because they didn't get it and they didn't get to play. And then the inner loving parent who's
Hmm.
kind of watching over the situation and making sure there's limits and boundaries. And you
Yes.
also represent some of that. And
Hmm.
then also like a transitional object you're giving her of like, you're going home to your family of origin, probably shit is hard, do the stickers. That's a part of you that she can carry with her that's going to make her feel, on some level, probably, I don't know, probably safe, comforted, at least like, yeah, some joy. Again,
Yeah.
breaking that cycle of having to just go back into something that is hard, traumatic, doesn't serve us. I mean,
Hmm.
I can relate to that. I think you can relate. Like the family of origin stuff is real. And so you're talking about playing and having like relational repair, corrective emotional experience with clients who may have again big T trauma stuff and attachment wounding. I feel like you're also like because of trauma that you work with, you're also just like in a consistent sort of relationship with the attachment parts too.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
because you're so consistent, I mean, something I love about the way you work is that I mean, you're varied in what you do, but you're so consistent. You're like an object constancy. Like you're on time. You're like prepared. You're ready and present. Like you've done whatever you need to do to like be exactly the most present version of yourself. And for those of us with chaotic and dysfunctional family systems with
Mhm.
addiction, there was no fucking consistency. It was all chaos. We didn't know what to
Mhm.
expect. Who was
Right.
going to be home when? Oh, should I make dinner? Do I need to pay for that? Who needs
Yeah.
to go to a lesson?
Mhm.
What's happening? And so just the way in which you hold the frame of the therapy is in direct opposition to that. Well, that's
Mhm.
how I read it. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I think that's very true. I think it is something that I learned from Bruce Weitzman
Yeah.
and something that I found when I was in spaces where there wasn't good holding.
hmm
And when I mean that, I mean like supervision for when I was an AMFT or when I was
hmm
in practicum,
hmm
which I had it modeled in a group once with someone who was retired and she was a very kind person. She did want to say something really profound I'll circle back to, but she couldn't hold frame.
hmm
And there was anywhere, a group would be 5 to 7 people, and one person would share and they would share for 20 to 25 minutes. I'm like, whoa, yeah, we're
Uh-huh.
way over time.
hmm
And now my really relevant client work isn't going to get addressed, and neither are my other mates here and doing this experience in group supervision. And what I learned from Bruce, and Bruce is like, he was the most psychodynamic, psychoanalytic person I've ever experienced. And he was also the president of Pink at the time I was working with him,
Right.
the psychodynamic, the psychoanalytic Northern California chapter.
hmm
And it really was like having like solo master class
That's
with,
awesome. That's so cool.
and he talked a lot about frame,
hmm
importance of frame, and
hmm
then when to break it.
Mm. Yeah,
Because I think every therapist has had a client who has needed to go over session.
totally.
Now, I have some clients who will edge into that quite quickly.
Yeah.
They'll drop something in,
Uh-huh.
that really needs more spaciousness because it's scary to talk about.
Sure.
And so I'm just going to drop it right in at the end, and then I get to leave. I'm going to leave it with you. It's like a
Uh-huh.
cat with a mouse. I have left you a little gift.
Cat with a mouth. I never heard it described that way. That's amazing.
I
That's
was
such
like, oh, you gave me a doorknob drop.
a
You left me a little
doorknob or doorknob drop. That's a mouse. You're blowing my mind. I love it.
mouse.
Yep. Yep.
I love you. I care about you. I want you to have this thing because I can't take care of it anymore.
Mhm.
And I'm like, okay, so like holding like I start on time, I end on
You
time.
really do.
And when I haven't, and the frame just gets broken that little bit, it tells the client something really important. I am with them and I
Mm.
do want to do the work. I'm
hmm
also very cognizant of how long I can do that. Right.
hmm hmm
Like my DID client.
hmm
I love this person so much and I really resonate with them. And they have a hard time sometimes with some of the interventions I do because they don't match her extreme violent experience growing up.
Uh-huh.
Like we're talking birth through mid 20s with a violent, abusive, narcissist parent.
Mm.
And they've normalized it so much so that they could survive that sometimes I will say something that may just you can see it doesn't make any sense to them. Like, and they sometimes will do the drop like
Uh-huh.
right. I'm like, here, okay, hold it. But what I've done is I've put them in a spot in my schedule where I don't have a client right after.
Mm.
And I tend not to go over because they need boundaries because all of their boundaries are so broken.
Yeah. Yep. They're so permeable.
And have like modeling that because sometimes people just they were just like, I don't understand this. Or when I'm trying to describe it to like a supervisee or somebody who's kind of newly in, one of my like Bruce was just so like, you will end on time. Start on time, end on time.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Well, and
And
mostly
then
that's the case, but sometimes
yeah,
different things need to happen. They just
exactly.
do.
And when you do that, it can become this extraordinary reparative moment. And that's
Exactly.
been really special. I've also noticed that sometimes when clients need to, they come early
hmm
to be in the space.
hmm
And now I do have boundaries around that. Like I'm like, you can't be in the waiting area more than 10 minutes prior to your session. Uh,
Uh-huh.
so that it's not someone just hanging out and doing work on their laptop in my office.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, just outside your door.
Mhm.
It's kind of making me think a little bit about, and I recognize that I am a white person saying this, and I am not intentionally being trying to be culturally appropriative at all, but it kind of reminds me of like in Buddhism, in Zen practice, it's all about structure and form. So, you're going into the Zendo with a certain, a certain foot that you started on, and then you do these specific chants and you sit in a specific mudra with your eyes open, at least in the practices that I've been in, the places that I've been, and you're looking at the wall and you're kind of and there's a thing like they're doing incense in a certain way, and everything has its ceremony and ritual and place and structure and form. And within that comes the spaciousness for a deeper consciousness and understanding and opening. And at first you can be like, "Oh my God, what the hell? I don't want to sit like this. Do I have to really look at this white wall for 30 minutes?" Like it can have like I just know that, and one time there was a spider coming down the wall and I was like, "Do I leave? If I leave, I'm going to get in trouble." There was like I went through a whole process around it. But it makes me think about that, not that you are having spiders on your walls, but just that you value the structure and the form in which so much other things can arise. And I think about that too in terms of recovery. It's a very similar concept, right? There's a structure and a form, even in harm reduction stuff, in any kind of program where you're working this, the structure and the form is the holding.
Yep.
And then what arises will arise.
Yep.
So I
When you
really
build
like
a foundation,
that.
when there is something to hold you.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in recovery for 21 years.
It's
Just
fucking
turned 21
amazing.
last month, which was like, I'm legal now. I'm
Yeah, you're
like,
legal.
no, you're just old.
That's amazing.
I was like, oh, there's something about the profundity of the container in a lot of the 12-step programs.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking with a client about this recently. I said, listen, there's a lot of stigma around 12-step
Mm-hmm.
because people misconstrue spirituality with religion, and there's a lot of people with religious trauma,
That's
which,
right.
by the way, is a niche area that I have done some work in,
Mm-hmm.
uh, that replicates a lot of the similar traumas that we were talking about earlier with childhood. But we, as I talked about earlier, we have a thought and we attach to it. And we're like, oh, I am that thought. I'm not worthy of love, and I get
Mm-hmm.
pulled along by that
Yeah.
thought.
Yeah.
What you learn in the framework of like a 12-step program or a harm reduction program or a very structured outpatient program, say, is that there's an amount of time that you're working on something and that there's a frame. But one of the things about like I'll just stick with Alcoholics Anonymous because it was part of the dissertation work that I did, is that the meeting is an hour long.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much all meetings start with a serenity prayer. They read how it works, which is sort of the program of action that's outlined as recovery. And then there might be, say, a speaker for a certain amount of time, and people share their experience for a certain amount of time. And then there's some announcements. And then so it's this structured form. And you know what? You can do that in Oklahoma. You can do that in New York City. You can do it in Paris.
Yep.
You can do it in Panama. You can do it in because they're all the same. And
Yeah.
that these
Mm-hmm.
constant
Yeah.
repetitive similar
Yes.
structures
Uh-huh.
will start to change the narrative
Mm.
neurological pathway,
That's right.
right? So
That's
the
right.
whole thing about 12-step program is that it's a loving higher power,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a love.
Mm-hmm.
You think about love as, nature or art or magic or, being a witch.
Yeah.
We can think about it in all sorts of different powerful ways. It doesn't
Uh-huh.
have to be like, Sky Daddy, um, Santa
Sky
Claus.
Daddy is so good.
I'm like, I like Sky Daddy.
Sky Daddy.
Okay. I'm like, I'm gonna start making inappropriate jokes about God. Sorry.
I like
But
it.
so over time, these constant like loving principles where people are taught about honesty and courage, and people are taught about how to experience something through a different lens, you just keep doing that. And so therapy has
Yeah,
also got that sort of
it
frame.
does. It really does.
And I think that what we're doing on many levels isn't just like, I can look at it from all sorts of perspectives. I can look at it from a scientific perspective. I can look at it from a neurological perspective. I can look at it from a social perspective. I can look at it from the perspective of art,
Mm,
but all of these systems are so intertwined, right?
yes. Yeah.
Some of it, and even I will be sometimes, I'm like, it's a little too woo-woo for me, but
You have a woo-woo crossover level, or it's
I
like a
do.
little
I
bit.
do. Somebody asked me recently, this is a friend, by the way, it was not one of my clients. A friend texted me out of the blue and said, "What happens to us when we die?" And I'm like, good to hear from you, Brian. I mean, it's been a minute, like
Oh,
since we met up and had lunch, my friend. How are you? What happens when we die? I was
right.
like,
That
okay.
seems like a one sentence answer of a text. Like that's not going to be a problem. It's going to be real short.
And I thought about it and I was like, well, I like Einstein, and when we think about Einstein, um, one of the theories that he worked with was that energy never dies.
Mm,
So when we die, where does the energy go? It has to go somewhere else.
hmm
So I just was like, maybe it's a child's laughter, maybe it's the grass, maybe I'm a
mm.
tree, maybe I'm my cat. I would really like to come back as Ziggy, by the way.
Oh
Like,
my God, totally.
wow, like nap, watch bird TV, destroy things because I feel like it, right?
hmm
But and then at the end, I was like, oh, I sound a little woo woo, and he's like, you're a little bit of a hippie. Like, I don't dress like one, but apparently I can
You've
play
got
like
some
a hippie.
like hippie vibes, but not completely. Yeah. You mentioned your dissertation, Carmen, and I was so, I went to your defense, which was absolutely incredible. And I learned so much from you. And you will speak on it way better than I can. But just to say that talking about all of the ways that you have lived experience, expertise in the clinical field, and then also your own recovery process, both in in terms of addiction, but also in terms of being a survivor of trauma and sexual assault things. All of that coming together with the other piece you've been talking about, which is the storing and the restoring and the
Mm,
reclaiming of the body with tattoos. I mean, it's like I know you and I have very different lived experiences in the world, but listening to what you're saying and thinking about my lived experience, I was like, oh, this is a mirror I didn't even realize was happening when you were writing this thing because you and I were friends and working together through your entire
yeah, yeah,
program, your PhD program. And then it was like, it hit me listening to your defense. I was like, oh, this is such a mirror of a lot of my experience and so many other people's experiences in the world, our
yeah.
clients, your client, my clients. And I'm like, fuck, we have to get this out there. But anyway, I just said all the things. You speak about your research and also how you embody your research in your work.
Well, I started looking at it years before I was, working on my dissertation. I started thinking about it probably in Jyoti Rao's trauma class, right? Reading Bessel van der Kolk and
Yes.
just recognizing that in my recovery, I was doing something that I started to question. I was like, huh, I think I might have some unconscious motivations around what I'm doing. And that one of my first big tattoo pieces was a commemorative tattoo when my best friend died. And there was something about the process of getting that tattoo. Now, of course, in the moment, I wasn't in grad school. You know, I I can't even tell you how many odd jobs I had when I was in early recovery. So many goofy things that I have done. Um, but I was not at all thinking about being a therapist. In fact, it was many years into recovery before I started looking at that. But I started getting tattoos. And I was also like in a culture, in 12 step in San Francisco, there's definitely lots of folks with tattoos, lots of creatives, lots of musicians, lots of artists. I have worked with I just being in that sort of scene, especially in, the early to mid 2000s. I came out to San Francisco in 2002 and got sober in 2005 in San Francisco, and lots of folks with tattoos. And I just sort of kind of gravitated from whatever there was something about the I just felt held and seen and met,
Mm,
There was a kind of family that was building up around me, a family of choice, in a way. And so when I was in that trauma class reading Van der Kolk's work, and then, I read Gabor Mate and just sort of got into this space where I was like, I think I'm doing something by getting tattooed, right? And I remember I found the notebook when I was working on my dissertation from my trauma class, and I had written something in one of the margins. It was like, "Am I getting tattooed to like repair trauma?" I'm like, "Huh," and that's where my dissertation sort of that little seed got planted.
mhm.
And also Doris, in law and ethics,
Uh-huh.
uh, she had told me I should become a doctor. And in fact, she even told the whole class. She said, she's like, by the time you get, licensed to be a therapist, an MFT, you'll probably be most of the way through, a
Yeah.
doctoral degree. And then she kind of looked at me separately because I had some questions that I asked her after class. And she said, well, I know your story. You'll be of more service. I'm like, well, that's not fair.
My God, she called you. She called you out, called
Yeah,
you in. She
yeah.
knew. Mm-hmm.
You know, so my theory was going into it, I was going to interview a bunch of people that I knew in AA, and I knew their stories. And I just outed myself and said AA. In recovery, uh, I met a bunch of folks, and I was like, I knew their stories, and what I noticed is that there were people who were honest and
Mm-hmm.
brave about sharing their sexual abuse stories,
Mm,
especially childhood sexual abuse stories. And that a lot of them had full body or were very heavily tattooed.
mm,
You know.
mm.
And in fact, my tattoo artist, who I quote in my dissertation, he experienced childhood sexual abuse when he was 10. And he said point blank, my skin suit saved my life. A skin
Oof,
suit is called a bodysuit, right? It's the full, if he's head to toe. I mean,
completely
he
covered.
doesn't have, I think, any face, but full neck,
Uh-huh.
back, behind the ears, full body. Everything is tattooed.
Mm-hmm.
And he said it held me together.
Ugh.
And he's like, and he reclaimed all of those parts of himself. Again, I think unconsciously.
Yeah, right.
And so when I discovered the experience of sitting with that first tattoo, which was a pretty big commemorative one. It's like this big piece
Oh
here.
yeah, that's like a big place to
Yeah,
start.
just like in there, right? Like just going in full force.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And then I got two dragons. So I have like a dragon sleeve and I have another dragon sleeve, and we'll bring Bessel back in.
Mm-hmm.
So I had gotten my master's, and I put this application together, and I was talking about some of the things that I was interested in doing. And I remember when I was interviewing with the head, and I told her, I said, I have two ideas for a dissertation. And I told her, and she's like, and that one kind of been done, although you have a different perspective. It could be very interesting. Because she's like, I don't know anything about this tattooing thing. I never heard about that. That sounds amazing. I was like, that's kind of where I was leaning.
Mm.
My idea was to collect information and data from people I knew who had sexual abuse trauma in recovery,
Mm-hmm.
who had worked through it by getting tattooed.
Mm.
I had a I I had a list of, I think, 12 or 15 people that I wanted to interview. Right. And they all seem to be kind of congregated in the same area, somewhere around the Mission, Soma,
Uh-huh.
a little bit into the Castro area, and this kind of pocket of people. And then I discovered that I couldn't get it past the law and ethics board, or I couldn't get it past the ethics board, not law and ethics.
Because of the anonymous component?
No, because I would be bringing up someone's trauma. So because of the Stanford
Wow.
jail experiment, do you remember that where they force people into isolation?
Yeah.
They did some of the Stanford tests the experience traumatized the people doing it.
Uh-huh.
So there's a lot of
There.
safeguards
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
around research,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to go past a review board. And so if you go to the ethical review board and they decide that your work would elicit someone's trauma, and I argued with the professor that, because I was so married to this idea, and she was just like, "You're not going to get it through. You're just not. You're
Mm-hmm.
just not going to get it through.
Mm-hmm.
You would be bringing up people's." I was like, "But I'm a therapist. Should be able to hold a container for it, right?"
Yeah, and ostensibly you would be talking to people who perhaps have done some work around their trauma, which is why they're sharing it in the first place, and they've been talking about it in relationship to their tattoo recovery process anyway. I
Yep.
have feelings on that. I mean, I love where it then led you.
Okay.
So
Right. Yeah.
it's wonderful, but also kind of, I don't know, fuck that. I don't like that.
No, I didn't either. And even someone once said, you could do a postdoc. And I was like, I just, you could pay off my student loans and then we'll talk about me being a
Thank you.
postdoc.
Thank
I
you.
was like, no. But yeah, I have thought about that because there are aspects of my work that I wasn't able to fully flesh out
Hmm.
because what happened was I became the topic of my
Which I
dissertation.
love.
So my dissertation is called the transformative tattoo. What can healing from trauma look like? And it's an evocative autoethnography about my experience getting sober and using tattoos to somatically reauthor my body after sexual abuse trauma. And what
It's
happened
amazing.
during a really intense period, ironically during my master's and somewhat through my PhD experience of being involved with a person who was unavailable. And we would get together and we would break up and we get together and we would break up. And it was all this like drama,
Hmm.
but it kept re-eliciting like sort of this very painful childhood abandonment piece,
Hmm.
piece where through I want to be very clear, no fault of my parents in their capacity to love me, because I know my parents love me, but I was abandoned with perpetrators. And
Uh-huh.
they were in their own disease and their own dysfunction. And
Hmm.
there's so much family of origin, generational, many, many generations of dysfunction on both sides of my family. You know, um, that it doesn't surprise me at all that I was, left with predators.
Yeah.
And what I did to cope with that, when I was growing up. And I discovered through that first tattoo something very powerful, which I learned later is the capacity to be able to hold the trauma in a contained way. So when we experience something that's very traumatic, usually traumatic incidents, like a one-off trauma incident, we might be very impacted by it, but if we're not trapped, if the trauma doesn't stick, we can typically move through it.
Hmm.
So Vanderkolk talks a lot about how trauma gets stuck in the body.
Hmm.
A lot, and Judith Herman, Peter
Yep.
Levine,
Yep.
Monte,
Hmm.
this idea that if we can't express or move, if you're being held down, if you're being constrained, you can't move.
Yeah.
So being able to have like the reparative experience of holding my own body still, knowing that I have complete ownership and authorship of what's going on, and then creating something really beautiful
Hmm.
out of that pain.
Hmm.
And then in the experience of the pain, you witness the body healing. And you're left with this really beautiful memory, for me about my friend. And at
Hmm.
the time when I was going through my master's and into my doctorate program, I had paused on getting tattoos, and all of a sudden, I'm in this on again, off again relationship
Hmm.
that's causing me a lot of distress. Learned a lot, used it a lot. I was like, we're gonna explore some things here. I got a bunch of tattoos.
Ah.
Like I got a lot of
Hmm.
tattoos. In fact,
Hmm.
I got a full back piece. Like
Yeah.
I really worked through it
Yeah.
and transformed, you know.
Yes.
And there's something too, like I think we've kind of alluded to it or maybe even danced a little bit around it, but like we're experiencing such high level trauma in our culture right now.
Hmm. Yeah.
And a lot of that is around patriarchal control of a woman's body. And so
Correct.
just if I'm also holding that, this is a way
Mm.
for me to
Fuck
have
yeah.
ownership of my body, to be
Yes.
armored in a world
Yes.
that has really atypical beauty standards of conformity. And that it's
Yes.
about control. It's
Yes.
really about control. I'm like, I'm taking it back. This is mine.
Hmm.
Don't get ownership of me,
That's right.
right? And that comes with some stigma. It comes with some messaging that people have certain ideas about the tattooed lady, right?
Uh-huh.
Uh, but really, it's a reclamation,
Yeah.
and it's so restorative. Like,
So sorry.
I love your tattoos. They're so beautiful. It's like this expression of your essence, of your
That's
psyche,
about you
of who
too.
you are as a
Hmm.
person.
Yeah.
Beautiful expressions of art. Like,
Hmm.
oh, yeah. So that's really what I was looking at was, how are tattoos used to somatically reauthor the body, right? To give you back your own autonomy, your own strength, your own voice, and a creative expression. I didn't necessarily realize why I picked dragons until later. I was like, oh yeah. And I wrote a paper about this that I ended up incorporating into my dissertation was you
Oh.
can't hold a dragon down,
Oh.
right? It's a
Mm.
creature that is strong,
Mm. I just
it's
got
armored,
chills. Yeah, I just got chills. Yeah.
fire breathing. Get out of my way, I'm gonna burn you down.
Yes. Yes.
Like you can't burn the witch out of me.
Oh, totally. Totally. And there's something like, yes, there's something concrete and important and a reauthoring and a narrative. And then there's also something that's like a spell about it. Like you get to wear art and it's like you're casting a spell in the world. I was thinking about like when I started as a therapist, I would always wear like that archetypal like scarf, that therapist
Yep.
fucking scarf and or shawl or whatever. And that's cute. And I fully support people who do that. But once I started getting more visible tattoos, I stopped doing that
Hmm.
because I started like loving my arms more
Yep.
in a very complicated historical relationship to my body with like fucked up disordered eating stuff and just like again, right, you were saying about like body image stuff and all of that. And sort of not like hiding, but having it be sort of an outward armor that still is an energetic sort of skin boundary between me and the people that I'm with, but
Oh,
also a way of connection,
mhm,
deep, deep connection. When my clients show me their tattoos
mhm.
and what it means to them and tells me the
Yep.
story, I mean, that's magic. That is magic. Or sends me pictures of like, hey, I got this updated. I'm like, this is so great. I'm so happy. And um, it's a kind of artistic energy exchange
Mhm.
and a way to have a statement about who you are in the world and also that it can change. I think that's the other part is like, I have very cute friends who are like, I could never get a tattoo. I could never decide what to get. And I'm thinking like, I have tattoos that I got 20 years ago and I'm covering them up. And then in 20 years, I might do something different with them or reshape them into something else. It's a continuing story. It's a never ending story. Da, da, da.
Yeah.
It's like a
Yeah.
never potentially. And some of
Yep.
them might be forever. Some of them might
Mhm.
be right. Like my Twin Peaks bird from the opening number from the opening credits. Like this female varied thrush might hang out forever, or she might get spruced up with color, or maybe added some more berries or something else. Like it's a continued evolution as we continue to evolve, and we are never ending stories. And so it's like gets to just be representatives of that. So that's kind of what I'm thinking.
No, it's a I think about it too. It's like self-expression, which again, if we think about creativity or art or therapy or healing from trauma, right? When
Hmm.
you can't express yourself. Uh, the one thing that, and this is why I think I end up with having clients have, early childhood trauma or, family of origin trauma, is that there's something that's sacrifice, and that's autonomy.
Mm.
Who you are as an autonomous, unique, beautiful creature in the world is sacrificed to stay in attachment to your primary caretaker.
Uh-huh.
So if you have parents who are abusive because they grew up with abuse and they don't know how to do anything but that, but yeah, I joke a little bit, but it lands with certain people, and so like sometimes I look at my client, I say, if you're an 8-year old, it's really hard to go to Trader Joe's and get a job.
Mm.
You can't leave your family
Hmm.
and get a job as an 8-year old, even bagging groceries, and get your own apartment.
Hmm.
You can't. You just can't do it. So you're
Yeah,
forced to shave off parts of yourself,
that's right.
right? Sacrifice whoever you might be as this burgeoning creative expression of life and love
Yeah.
to stay in attachment to a parent who might be an alcoholic, might have violence, might have, there's so many different things that might be happening, but you have no choice. And then you usually have to take care of that person, right?
Oh, yeah.
So when you come out of that and you come into a space in which you have control over your body and you have the autonomy of choice, I think that it creates a new kind of attachment experience
Oh,
for
yes.
yourself where you're reparenting, right? Like some of my, I have a jackalope, I have a little bunny on my arm. Like that's really important to me.
Yeah.
I actually thought about getting that little bunny, right?
The
As
one
a
that
tattoo.
you
The
just
one I just
got?
got.
Yeah. Oh
I
my
was
God,
like, am I gonna
totally.
have like a
Oh my God,
little
you
piece?
have to. Oh my God, you have to. Yes.
Because it was so sweet to tell my
It's
little mentee. And then she saw my joy.
mm.
Because I was so excited. I was like, oh, I got it. And I was like, I'm being really silly. I'm like, no, you're being like a little kid. Like I didn't
Mm.
get to have little kid things.
Exactly.
Like I remember ugh, we were so poor. God, sometimes it's just like heartbreaking how like and yeah, this is why I like really nice food.
Yeah.
Like when you don't
Hmm.
get to eat the nice things until later.
Hmm.
But like I sacrificed a lot to of my playfulness as a kid to take care of the family. And
Hmm.
I remember like going to the grocery store and I would borrow a cart and take it back to the apartments we were living in. We were in like these low income apartments and load up the laundry. And then my sister, and then push it back to the supermarket mall area and do laundry.
Mm.
And I'm doing this as a 7 or 8-year-old,
Yeah.
you know.
Hmm.
Like, so I get to have like this joy with this little bunny figurine, you
100%.
know. And my mentee sent me this beautiful little thank you note, and she painted me a picture of a bunny. And I was like,
Oh my God,
oh,
that's so sweet.
hmm. And I'm
That's
like, this is incredible.
hmm.
Yeah.
That's
And the reason
incredible.
why she chose me is because I had tattoos.
Hmm.
She sat down next to me and said something, and I told her about the work that I did, maybe not in as much detail.
Yeah.
And then she showed me her stick and poke tattoo.
Oh my God, it's stick and poke.
And now
Love to
actually
her.
she's getting, when she graduates, she's getting like a professional piece. She's
Oh,
so excited.
yay. That's so awesome. That's
So
wonderful.
I think I kind of went off the rails here a little bit, but
No, not at all. No, no, no. This is exactly right. And, it's making me think too about, and I'm curious, to hear how other people experience this. But yeah, for me, like your jackalope on your arm, which is so cute. It's like the cutest fucking thing. Like, can you show it again?
yeah, of course. I don't know if you can see how.
Stop it. It's so cute. It's
Yeah,
so being it's so cute. I love it. And I love how big it is too. It's just like
yeah,
unapologetic. And I
yep,
feel like
right there.
for me, a lot of my tattoo collection is about nostalgic things. that are transitional objects that link me to the things that I love that are comfort things, a lot of which were from my childhood, things that helped me get through, things that I was connecting to
Hmm.
because of the level of neglect that was happening. I
Yeah.
was engaging with bad movie sequels or, um, like I have a tattoo of a member of the Chuck E. Cheese band because I went to like Chuck E. Cheese a lot because it was like something that you could just do and let the kids go. And like I love to carry, Gremlina from the Gremlins movie,
Hmm.
like in wearing a snow hat. Like I love carrying those kinds of things with me.
Yes.
It feels like a toy collection,
Hmm. Yep. Totally.
like
Yep.
things I would want to put on my shelves, like your
Yep.
new bunny. Like I would
Mhm.
want to put a figurine of Gremlina on my shelf. I would want to put, Mitzi from the Chuck E. Cheese band, Rocket Fire Explosion. I would want to have a figurine of her to keep, but now I get to wear her. I can take them with me wherever I go. And it's
Right.
in Twin Peaks, all of my Twin Peaks tattoos, like all of the ways that those are transitional objects from the show that I get to carry my favorite things. And they make me feel safe. So it's like armor, it's protection, it's safety, it's comfort, and also like style and
Yeah.
cuteness. Like we look cute,
Absolutely.
like we're cute, and our
Yeah. I'm not going to apologize for it.
mm,
I thought when I became a therapist, I was going to have to wear cardigan sets. And I mean,
yeah,
I still like a cardigan. I'm wearing one now. Um, but, and tame the makeup and tame the hair.
mm-hmm,
Uh,
mm-hmm,
and I don't. I'm
mm-hmm.
wearing glitter. I'm wearing red lipstick. I'm wearing red. It's Valentine's Day, but Um, and sometimes, there's still there even within like our culture as therapists, there can be this kind of, and I know in some ways it's like you want potentially like a screen for your client to project onto you,
Mm-hmm.
whatever that they're working through. But I feel like with the tattoos, with the makeup, with the creative expression of who I am, I'm saying I have permission to express who I am,
Mm-hmm.
especially again in a culture in which we're told to look a certain way, act a
That's
certain
right.
way,
That's
behave
right.
a certain way, and that looking outside of those things is not permitted. It's about control. There's a
Mm,
lot of power and control dynamics in our
yes.
cultures. And so, you know, even wearing makeup is a decision to be uncontrolled, right?
Mm,
And I know that some people are like, oh, you're into this or into that, or you look a certain way. And I'm like, no, actually, I was in a relationship for 5 years with a man that who didn't want me to wear makeup.
mm,
He was so jealous of any attention being paid to me.
mm.
He wanted me to dress plainly. He wanted me to stay covered up. He didn't want me to wear makeup. I never wore makeup. 5 years, no makeup. Didn't even
Wow.
think about it.
Wow.
Like, no, he doesn't want me to wear makeup. I'm not going to wear makeup. The irony is the man cheated on me twice in the relationship and then constantly thought I was cheating on him. And I'm like, that's not what's happening. I'm just going to work.
Mm-hmm.
And he would show up at my job, and it took a lot
Wow.
of time and a lot of healing and a lot of
Mm-hmm.
other work, of my own therapy. So I'm like, when I got into recovery, there was this big prom that was held, and I think about like all the like I didn't get to go to prom.
Mm.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
it was really horrifying getting voted on the homecoming court. As much as I was like, oh my God, I got voted on the homecoming court. And then I was like, my second thought was, oh my God, I have to buy a dress.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got to go to this prom, and it was so cute. And like my friend took me to the Jessica McClintock outlet.
Oh my God.
There used to be one here in San
Oh
Francisco.
my God.
And I
What
got this big
did she fucking get?
teal, like
Yes.
poofy
Yes.
satin dress and like glove, like the whole thing, like
You just
prom,
did it.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then I'm all dressed up
Cosplay
and
prom.
I was like, oh, I don't have any makeup.
Mm.
And so my friend was like, oh, so and so works at Sephora. So I went to Sephora and she made me up. And I fell in love with it.
Hmm.
I really fell in love with it. So it wasn't actually until I got into my early 30s when I got sober that I started wearing makeup because it became like a self-expression. So the tattoos
Yeah.
are the same thing.
Uh-huh.
It's like
Love that
anytime that
too.
I decide that I want to show creativeness or flourishing or authenticity or difference, it gets kind of compressed down and pushed back at you like, no, conform.
Hmm.
Look how we want you to look. I'm like, this is mine.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
know, like sometimes it's weird and droopy and gray haired and frizzy, but it's mine. I still get to wear lipstick if I want to.
Yes, I really appreciate this so much. And I have finally gotten there as well. And it's taken me a long time to just embrace, like, I don't wear makeup, but goddamn, if I don't love a good bright red lipstick, and I'm gonna wear it in session. And I, for some
Yeah.
reason, right now have a problem wearing sleeves. They bother me. It's like I don't know what it is that's going on, but so I'm cutting off my sleeves and I'm wearing, Jinx Monsoon shirts that I got when I went to see her in O'Mary, and it was funny because I had a shirt on the other day that was literally like this, so you could just see the top of the head.
Mhm.
And I was like working with the client in like in the queer trans community, and he just like stopped what he was saying and he goes, "Is that Judy Garland on your shirt?" And it fucking was. And he knew just from the hair, the
Hair.
top hairline.
Yes.
And I was like,
Yes.
that is like literally the gayest thing that's ever happened, and I'm obsessed with it, and I just loved it so much. But that's me,
Okay.
right? I want to wear a cut
Yeah.
off Judy Garland shirt. I
Mhm.
want to wear bright red lipstick. I want my tattoos out and not be afraid to hide that. Every once in a while, if I'm meeting someone new, I might cover a little bit more than I usually would, just to kind of like appear more professional. But like, can this be professional? Like, what we're
Yeah.
doing is professional. Like,
Yeah.
professional is coded in fucking white supremacy and capitalism and
Yeah.
patriarchy. So, what
Mhm.
we're doing is this new form of professionalism because we still are adhering to all of the things that we need to adhere to in our profession,
Yep.
and still being our authentic selves, and still letting projections happen too, like
Oh,
all
yeah.
of that
There's still
stuff.
that.
All of the enactments, all the relational stuff is still going to
Yeah.
happen because we're ourselves. I think they're going to happen more genuinely and authentically and more relationally, instead of being a blank screen with
Mhm.
a scarf around our necks, completely covered and makeup free. That's
Mhm.
not who we are. And I really appreciate that about how we both come to this work. Why are you so amazing? Okay. If people want
I had
to,
really good teachers.
oh yes, you did. You did have good teachers. Yeah. And also just like good colleagues and peers. And I'm just like, shout out to all the people that we love and work with, and that I learned from too. Um, Carmen, if people want to find you to work with you in San Francisco or over telehealth in California, tell us about that. How do they find you? What's the process?
Well, they can go to my website, Carmen Martinez Therapy, and it's Martinez with an S. And I think sometimes that people like they hear that, but then they still put the Z in, or that it gets changed. So it is. Think of Martines like saltines, so Carmen Martinez Therapy. You can fill out a form there. I also have a profile up on Psychology Today, or you can just email me directly, Carmen at carmenmartineztherapy.com. You know. I am open for new clients. I work with couples and individuals. I occasionally work with teens. I don't do child therapy, but I definitely do play therapy, you know. Where else can you find me? I do see some clients in office.
Mhm.
And I'm located in sort of what would be considered like the Soma Mission Bay area. It's sort of like edge of the Mission Bay, edge of the Soma, where the old flower market used to be. I'm right next door to Pinterest.
That's so funny. And and Carmen's office is absolutely gorgeous and a really like beautiful place to be in to do deep work, and also over telehealth too.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. I would say I'm still seeing two-thirds of my clients on video.
Mhm.
Yeah. And
And they can,
there's some clients that have never been in my office who live in San Francisco. So
yeah,
just
it's just
what works for
what
you.
works. Yeah,
Yeah.
what works. And um the caveat is that they just have to be folks who live in California,
Yeah.
because
Mhm.
that's the limitations of our license. So as long as you're in California, hit up Carmen.
I'm here.
You will not, it's like a dream to work with you. And, if we weren't friends and colleagues and all of that, I would be like, can you be my therapist? Like yeah, you're incredible. Thank you for spending this time with me. I love chatting with you about everything, but I love our talk about tattoos and trauma and the work and just everything that we spoke on today. So thank you so much.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure. Always is. I'm extremely grateful to know you and work with you too.
Mm.
Thank